there, and welcome back to County Talk, boring but important. This is where we uncover the nitty-gritty issues that we deal with at the county and you as a taxpayer may be interested in. I'm Sue Hansen. I'm one of your 3 elected commissioners, and I'm here with Rick Fellabaum, who is our elected county coroner.
Good morning.
And yeah, good morning. So we're this is a topic that we really most people don't really think about, and so I think this will be interesting for people to understand what you actually do, and why you do it, and how you do it. So I'm going to first ask you, why did you want to be the coroner? And maybe that will tie in with a little of your background and why that led to here.
When I retired as a cop after 28 years in Bakersfield, California, I moved back to Montrose, where I was born, and I came home. Not an outsider Californian. I got here, and within less than a year of getting here in 2006, some elected official nudged me and said, Dr. Canfield's looking for deputy coroners. I made an appointment. I knocked on his door and said, what does a deputy coroner do? His answer was, what's your background? I said, I'm a cop, a medic in the Air Force, and an EMT. He goes, you're
Perfect.
top of my list. Now leave.
Sounds like the doc for sure.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue what they did then.
Yeah. So, but you had the law enforcement, you had some medical training,
Yep.
and so that kind of is a perfect combination for what you're doing now. So then you decided to run for office, and tell us how that process went, because you actually got appointed.
Well, Dr. Canfield hired me in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of his 8 to 10 deputy coroners. I worked my way up to assistant and chief investigator. Then when Dr. Benzinger retired, I became the chief deputy.
Mm-hmm.
At that point when Dr. Canfield resigned, I was appointed 3 days later. And then that was in June of 22. And in November of 22, I was elected for a 4-year term.
Mm-hmm. And Doc Canfield was in the position a long time. How long was he coroner?
From 07 to 22.
Okay. Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Great service to the community.
Absolutely.
For sure. So your background fits. I mean, that's a kind of a perfect opportunity for you to be the coroner. What is in a nutshell, what does the coroner actually do? I think people wonder.
The coroner's office is charged with, under statute, to determine the cause and the manner. They're 2 separate things. There are 5 manners. There are thousands of causes.
Okay, the cause and the manner of death.
Correct.
So do you get? So let's just say my grandmother dies. Do you get called on that? Do I need to call the coroner, or tell me a little bit about that distinction?
No. Once the person has found a decedent, then they would call the dispatch, either 911 or the non-emergency. EMS would come out along with law enforcement right off the bat to determine, is there a chance that this person can be saved?
Okay.
When they get there and the EMS determines there's no signs of life, the coroner's called.
Okay.
We get there and we investigate the circumstances surrounding and everything about the death, and law enforcement's there in case it turns to something suspicious.
Mm-hmm. So you're primarily investigating any deaths that aren't maybe in a natural situation, right? So if someone's 92 and they die, you wouldn't necessarily get called in on that. So if they were in hospice, or would you?
We always get called.
You always get called.
If you're at home, natural or not,
Okay.
knowing that you were going to, everybody knew that it's coming, but you're not under hospice care, we're going to get called. If you were under hospice at your home or in a nursing facility or even at the hospital, we're not going to get called.
Okay. So if I'm with somebody that is a relative and something happens, I don't need to necessarily call you. That's sort of the professionals that give you a call?
Correct.
Okay.
The dispatch will.
Okay.
Once law enforcement has been there and EMS has determined there's no signs of life,
Okay.
we're coming.
So you're really sort of investigators, just like investigating a law enforcement would be an investigator. You're investigating the cause of death. So tell me a little bit about that investigation and how that works.
Well, technically, every deputy coroner and the coroner are peace officers per statute. So we work right alongside, right with the law enforcement, but they're looking for a little bit different than what we generally are. Excuse me. We're going to look at the situation. Does it look normal to what the eye sees. We're going to photograph. We're going to take the decedent to a funeral home after the family determines where they'd like it done. We're going to, if I don't know the cause of death, if you're 75 and you're not sick, I'm going to
investigate.
have an autopsy done.
Okay.
If you're 49 and you're not sick, I'm definitely doing one.
Okay.
But if you're 72 and have a very bad heart and I've got medical records, I'm going to make that call that
Okay.
due to the circumstances, this is the natural cause of death.
And you actually proclaim the death you'll say.
That's an important part when we arrive. We try to do it within minutes. We pronounce death. That's not the time of death.
Okay.
It's a legal determination to give us authority, custody, and whatever. But we walk up and go, it's 8:33, and look at the cops. They wrote it in their notes, and we write it in ours.
Okay.
Pronouncement of death.
Okay. And depending on the death, it might that time might change if there was something suspicious going on.
Not the pronouncement.
Not the pronouncement. Okay.
That is right then, right now.
Okay. So you have you don't do all this on your own. I mean, you obviously need, because how many deaths do we have in Montrose County a year? Would you approximately?
Somewhere between 500 and 540
Right.
deaths a year.
Okay.
We work about 160 to 190.
Okay. So you have a team of deputy coroners, and my understanding is you're also looking for a deputy coroner at this point. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what they do and then what you're looking for. Maybe somebody that's watching might be interested.
I have 8 deputy coroners right now, 3 on the west end, 5 over here. They're take turns being on call.
Okay.
When the dispatch calls them, they're on a call and they go to the call. They work the scene, then they come back. They request medical records. They write the report. If it's obvious, they'll just say, take the body to Grand Junction for an autopsy.
Okay.
If it's iffy, they call me and I make the decision. Mm-hmm. What I would really like to see is I would like to have a retired nurse, a retired cop, somebody with investigative skills or background good in nursing or medical background.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Good.
Because you can teach the one to the other usually.
Right.
If you're a great nurse and got great medical, teach you how to be an investigator. If you were a cop, teach you a little bit of the medical side of it. It's hard when somebody's working full time, and some of my people are, to squeeze in when they can be on call. And that's the tough part of right now.
But you have a dedicated team. I mean, I'm shocked. I mean, I'm not shocked. I mean, I'm glad that we have dedicated people, but, they have to go out at all times of the evening. I mean, night, you can't predict when a death is going to occur. So they get a call from dispatch, got to buzz out here. And so they have to jump in, just like on television. They got to put their, outfit on and get on out and investigate. So
Correct.
You have to have people that are serious and dedicated to the job.
Absolutely. And if by chance one of them is in a bad cell service where they happen to be right that moment and the dispatch can't get them, they call me.
Okay. So you're backup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, that's how it works when you're an elected official, right? You're always on. So we're looking for, so people can contact you. Do you want to give the contact information if someone's watching this and interested in touching base with you if they're interested in this job?
I prefer they just go to the county website, fill out the application, let me look at their background.
Okay. Great. All right. So hopefully we'll get some interested people that can help round out your team. So what is one thing that surprised you when you got into, I mean, you had been working with Dr. Canfield for a long time, so I'm guessing there were maybe no surprises when you got to be the coroner yourself, but were there any things that you didn't expect?
Yeah, all the paperwork, all the admin side, all the what goes on behind the big desk. Doing the death certificates, doing the timesheets for everybody, making the decisions. I've never done that before.
Right. So that was and that's not the interesting part of the job. No, the paperwork is never. So, yeah.
It's confining. I feel like I'm on a short leash a lot of times because it's hard to get away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the paperwork is necessary, obviously.
Absolutely.
Right. So, what does a normal day look like for you? Are you on every day, or do you rotate your deputies, coroners through a process so you have some time off? How does that work?
There is a calendar, and every 12-hour shift of every day, every week for the month, there's someone on. I am technically on every day, 24/7, even though they're on the shift. I come to the office, I do paperwork, I make a lot of phone calls. I field phone calls from a lot of family members who have a lot of questions. That's my most, I don't want to say enjoyable, but that is the most part of the job that
Rewarding?
Yes, absolutely. To give them some comfort, some compassion, consideration, direction, what to do next, how can we help you?
Yeah.
I ask them all the time.
Yeah.
What can I do? What questions do you have? Call me back if you have any.
That's great, because I think when there is a death, nobody knows really what to do, and because it's not like you go through this every day.
Absolutely.
So that compassion is also necessary. So do you handle all that, or do your deputies also handle some of those calls to the family? And
they definitely handle them,
Okay.
especially at the scene. If there is family or friends that people are grieving right there, they're there. They're helping, talking, trying to determine what can they do right then. Then they tell them, look, call back in the morning to either me or my office manager.
Okay.
It's a knitted circle.
Yep. Good. Well, that's how a team should work. So that's great.
You bet.
So because I think that you also can interact with law enforcement if there's a suspicious death or if someone is shot or something like that.
Right.
How does that work? So you get the same call, and then law enforcement comes, so they're dispatched. So
Right.
how long is someone going to be there at that scene? What does that look like?
2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
EMS is almost always gone when I get there, when we get there.
Okay.
The uniforms are there. Sometimes we beat the detective, not very often. And then we discuss what's going on. They give the coroner's office a quick briefing. What do you know? What have you seen? What have you heard?
Okay.
And then we step in. We make that pronouncement of death. We're taking photos. We're looking at objects and concerns around the body in the house. Was it broke into? If this is a 82-year-old with heart concerns and he's laying in his easy chair and the TV's on,
Yeah.
it's not too suspicious.
Right.
If they're on the floor and they've got a smash on the side of their head, did someone do it or did they fall and hit the fireplace?
Okay. So so you have to do that investigation, and that's
Sure.
where it gets a little bit sticky. The autopsy portion of your job. We used to do a lot of the autopsies here, but we
Absolutely.
don't any longer. And why is that?
Montrose Hospital had 2 forensic pathologists and 1 pathologist. When Dr. Canfield became the coroner, he was no longer doing forensic pathology, so Dr. Benzinger was. And when Dr. Benzinger retired in May of 21, we no longer had a place to go here. The hospital decided they didn't or couldn't hire anyone. We reached out to Dr. Havlick in Grand Junction at Community Hospital, and he does a great deal of autopsies regionally. Moffat, Garfield, Mesa, Delta, Montrose, Gunnison, Uray, San Miguel.
Busy man. Yeah.
Very.
So he's the only forensic on the Western Slope, or is
He either did hire and is part of his practice, or he brings him in now and then.
okay?
But there is one, and I think he came from Salt Lake.
Okay. Okay. Good. So there's some. I don't know if your job can be depressing. You said it was rewarding to talk to the families, but what's the impact on you, kind of emotionally, and your team?
It's weighting, overwhelming at times. The sadness of what happened, how bad it affected that family member or members, the type of incident that has happened.
Right.
Some of them are very tragic, very emotionally weighting.
Yeah, and I would think you'd be great at that because I think you show and demonstrate great compassion, and I think that's so important, as you mentioned earlier, for families. And I'm assuming that your deputies are the same way. Many times, especially in the West End, these are community members. I mean, we know some of these folks, so it can be especially distressing, I would think.
The 2 of the deputy coroners over there literally know everybody over there, so it probably affects them harder than it should if it was an unknown person.
Right, right. Well, I appreciate your service and the service of your team, and I know that there's some you also teach a class at the high school,
Yeah.
and could you tell us? So here's a bright spot in being a coroner:
Yes.
is you get to and tell us a little bit about the class and what you're doing and how kids react to that.
About 7 years ago, Emma Ray Garcia, high school teacher, incredibly full of energy, took on a thing called Project Lead the Way, bioscience class. And the first class she taught was to freshmen, and it actually is a 4-year progressive class. The further years you go, the further deeper, and it gives these kids something to really think about of what do they want to do with their lives. She brought us in, and we would do these one-on-one. It'd either be a detective from the police department, a deputy from the sheriff's office, to the class, and then they would bring me in and let them, 30 of them there, and ask questions, to tell them a complete rundown of what we do from the time we get the call till the time we've written our last sentence on the report and everything is finalized. She has a setup there that it's amazing. It has an anatomical dummy called Annie, and she's laying down, and there's evidence of stuff around her. And she can set this up in different ways every time. It could be a murder, a suicide, natural, an accident, they fell off a ladder, whatever. The kids have 9 months to figure out what happened.
No
and it
kidding.
is really interesting what she does with them.
Yeah. Well, and then I would think, that hands-on training is or exposure to what you do, I'm sure stimulates kids to be interested in one of the fields, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Several of them have gone on and come back and told her, hey, I went into this because of...
Yeah. That sounds like a really great class to be able to expose kids to hands-on learning. What do you do? And then it might stimulate EMS interest, or even maybe you can get maybe your new coroner can be someone who's graduated from. Is there an age limit or?
No, amazing. That's one of the questions I ask the kids. They ask me, "What do you have to do to become the coroner?" I said, "Can Miss Emma Ray be the coroner? Raise your hand if you think yes." Nobody raises. Anybody say that she can't be the coroner? Hand goes up. Ask her if she's got any felonies. If not, she could be the coroner.
Yeah. So really, that's kind of an interesting thing too, is that I know we've had Doc Canfield for many years. You're not a physician, but you can still perform the job. And we've had others that have run for that office that were not necessarily physicians.
Absolutely.
So you can do it with, but as you said, it's helpful to have some medical background and some law enforcement, just so you understand crime scenes and situations with dead bodies and that kind of thing. So,
well, a quick statistic of it: there's 64 counties in Colorado. There are 63 coroners. One of the coroners is contracted to a small county next beside him. Out of the 63 coroners, 2 of them are appointed. So the rest of us are elected. And the qualifications are, you don't have to be a doctor or anything. Out of the ones that are elected and everything, there's only 6 doctors, 1 dentist, 1 DO. A lot of the rest of them are nurses. Funeral home directors are a large part. Emergency managers.
Sure.
It just, whoever's willing and can and capable of stepping up to the job.
Right. It's a variety of professions that get involved in that. So, yeah. Well, I think that, you've shown that you're dedicated to the profession, bringing a level of professionalism to the office.
Thank you.
I know it's difficult. Do you have to have any special training or certification before you do that? Do you go to conferences and get...
The training is 2 Colorado Coroner Association conferences a year, one in June and one in October. I'm on the Colorado Coroners Board, and we set those conferences up and hope the attendees come, and that's where they get their certification for training to be a death investigator.
Okay, all right. So what's one thing before we close? What's one thing we should know about your job and what you do?
Oh man, did that come out of the side? One thing about it, I'm just going to be honest, it's stressful emotionally. It's not something you would want to get into lightly, but once you get in and realize it's something you can and will to do, it's very rewarding.
Yeah, I would think well, I think that you're the right choice because
Thank
you
you.
have that balance of all the law enforcement and all the training, but also the compassion. So I want to thank you for what you do. I'm not sure I could do it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
But I appreciate it. And I hope that this sort of clarifies what a coroner does. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact Rick Fellabaum at the county
Absolutely.
website, email,
Or
give him a call.
You can call my office.
Well, call his office and ask questions.
Let me give you the number real quick.
Okay.
970-252-4524 or 27, which would get you as the office manager, and we'll get back to you.
Okay. All right. Great. That'll just add one more thing to your call. But if you have somebody who's potentially interested in the job, that would be great.
Sure.
So again, if you have any questions, you can go to our website. We have all the information on there about all the elected offices. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you for inviting me.